Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 41, overall 316th edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Gulf Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at the dealership at 519-824-0210 or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is also on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta, the home of Southern Talk in sports. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of Live with CDP Sports Talk on this Thursday, September 14th, 2023. I'm looking forward to my guest tonight. This is his first appearance on our show, and he is the radio play-by-play announcer for the Ontario Hockey League's Sarnia Sting on CHOK 103.9 FM in Sarnia, Ontario. Good evening, Leigh. How you doing?
Chris, how are you? Good to talk to you.
Good. I'm excited to have you on here and excited about the 23-24 OHL season coming.
Well, it's at hand. We actually did our first broadcast the other night, the preseason game against the London Knights. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it. And basically, when you look back to last season, there's so much to be encouraged about in this community. I'm a Sarnia native, so just watching the community rally around that playoff draw ended against the London Knights in the Western Conference final. But boy, did it put an imprint in this community, and we're really looking forward to getting things rolling again.
Leigh, also, I want to congratulate you on 1,500 OHL broadcasts last year, and it's just an amazing feat, and I've always enjoyed your work around the league, obviously with London, Windsor, North Bay, Saginaw, and now your hometown, Sarnia Sting. What was that like to be able to do your 1,500 game at Progressive Auto Insurance Arena for your hometown Sting?
It was unbelievable. It was a great experience. Certainly the Sarnia Sting organization for staging the night and recognizing, one of the older guys in the league now. I remember when I was the kid in the OHL, and now obviously that has changed. But it was a wonderful night, and it culminated with a nice little function. We were going to have maybe 10, 15 friends over at a local establishment, and turned into about 75, 80. So a wonderful night, one that I'll obviously cherish for the rest of my life. And you never know, maybe I can squeeze another 500 in there to get to 2,000. You never can tell.
And I noticed around the OHL, guys are in this long term, like Larry Lott's been with Story years. Mike Stubbs has been with the Knights, I think, for over 8, and Steve Bell, and now Manny Pava. And I've been really lucky. A lot of the guys around this league have been really supportive of my career change into radio later in life as well.
Well, yeah, and that's been the fraternity among broadcasters in the Ontario Hockey League. Certainly since I've been there, I count many of the names that you mentioned as friends and colleagues. And, Mike Stubbs and I are very, very tight. We get along very, very well, known each other for years. Steve Bell, same story. Manny Pava. He's a great guy down in Windsor as well. You mentioned Larry Malott, who's been doing this for an awfully long time, since the inception of the Guelph Storm. Jimmy Gilchrist up in Kingston, a very good friend of mine, and that's just scratching the surface. Pete Dalladay in Peterborough I've known for years. So, yeah, when you're able to bump into them, and I guess during the pandemic and the canceled season, you kind of forget about those relationships and how much they do indeed mean to you. And now that they've been reestablished with everybody going back to the rink and bringing that normalcy back, it's been great to see those colleagues again.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Sarnia Sting, there was some news this afternoon as well. Leigh, would you like to share it on here?
Yeah, I know that they made a deal with Sault Ste. Marie. Dale
Yes.
Moses comes over from the Greyhounds to the Sarnia Sting. And, obviously necessitated by the fact that the Sarnia Sting are going to take as much in the way of graduation as any team in the Ontario Hockey League when you go for it and have your longest playoff run in the history of the franchise, now entering their 30th season in the Ontario Hockey League. Obviously, there's going to be holes to fill. I don't see a lot coming back from the National Hockey League, perhaps in a couple of cases, and certainly the American Hockey League. So, they're just trying to get the young players acclimatized, and they brought in the LeBlanc brothers from Niagara to fill a couple of 19-year-old spots. So, it's going to be one of those things. But so far, in the 2 games against the London Knights, a comeback victory at Budweiser Gardens on Saturday, in which they were down 2-0, comeback score 3, and the game in Sarnia on Sunday, they also came back, not all the way, but got a couple of goals to make it 3-2. I like the competitive nature that Al Letang and his coaching staff are fostering right now. Some very good-looking young players. Ryan Brown, the first-round pick, has really impressed in the first couple of games. I like James Barr as well, a young defenseman, along with Huey Hurd on the back end. So it's a wait-and-see proposition, but where I think, Chris, the greatest depth for this hockey club is at the goaltending position right now, with Benny Gaudreau perhaps coming back to Sarnia for an overage season. He's down with Tampa Bay, or is about to be down in Tampa Bay for their development camp or one of their camps. And so, between that and Nick Sergitia, who shone last year as a first-year goaltender, and another good young goaltender in Carson Chartier, that position seems to be well fortified for the hockey club. And candidly, with a team that's going to have to score by committee, having that last line being perhaps your most solid and at least right now proven department, I think that's a good thing going into the season for this young group.
Okay, before we get into this current team, just quick thoughts about the Sting season last year. And obviously 41 wins, 91 points in the regular season, and then a terrific playoff run against a very tough Guelph team, Saginaw team, and then took the London Knights to 6 games. To me, where do you rank this season in the history of the Sting's 30 years in Sarnia, or 29 seasons in Sarnia?
Well, I mean, certainly from a playoff perspective, there's been none better. It's statistically, that is the furthest the Sarnia Sting edition has gotten in the Ontario Hockey League playoffs. There's been years where perhaps they've accumulated more wins and points, but I just think based on what I kind of opened with, that enthusiasm that's been restored in this community for the OHL product, that in tandem with the results on the ice, it made last year very, very special. And, so many people wanted to talk about that team through the course of that run. And as you mentioned, I thought that series against the Guelph Storm was a good starting point for that run for the Sarnia Sting. The Storm, who I think are going to be very good this year, by the way, in the Western Conference potentially. That was the game, a little push. And then they go into Saginaw and take care of the Spirit in 4 games. And then obviously that clash, the first playoff series against the London Knights for the Sarnia Sting since 1999. So there were so many bells and whistles and all sort of sidebar stories going into that series against the London Knights. And outside of the end result, it really didn't disappoint in terms of an entertainment value.
Okay, that leads my next question, Leigh. How much does the Sarnia Sting franchise mean to the city of Sarnia, and especially after last year's success?
I think it means a ton.
Ticket holders and Tanya.
Yeah, I think it means a ton. Excuse me. Season tickets are way up in terms of the people that have gone out and made the commitment for a membership, if you will, to go to Progressive Auto Sales Arena this year. Excuse me. And the other thing that I really liked as well, that the Sarnia Sting, they're really starting to foster their past. As mentioned, 30 years in the Ontario Hockey League this year. And, Michael Haley is an assistant coach. Brent Sullivan, a former Sting defenseman, comes back to replace Brad Staubitz, who was here for about 8 years and did a tremendous job as an associate head coach. All these little ties, recognizing players that are coming back. There's a recognition game of sorts coming up at the first arena the Sting played in, Pat Stapleton Arena, formerly Sarnia Arena. That's next Wednesday against the Windsor Spitfire. So a new Hall of Fame wing has been added to the arena. So I like the way the Sarnia Sting are really, really starting to foster their past and pay tribute to those players that paved the way. And I think it's being really warmly accepted in the city of Sarnia, and really getting people's interest level up And the other thing that I thought was really, really encouraging was the number of kids and teens that were at those games last year leading into the playoffs, because, hey, when you got kids and teens, you usually got parents, and it makes for a good environment.
Absolutely. And also those kids like the Sting, they'll want to come back to the games as well. So you want to continue to have your fan base uh, grow with the younger generation of fans as well.
Well, that's absolutely right. Without it,
Also,
you
Leigh,
know,
I went.
you're in.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. No, I was just
Oh,
going to
I was
say
going to say that was
absolutely.
my,
Without with that fan
it
base,
was just my wife.
young and growing and enthusiastic, you know what? It really, really has become a great place to be. It's kind of the place to be on a Friday and Saturday night anymore. And when you've got people that have got a lot of decisions to make with their disposable income and time and all that kind of thing, for them to choose a Sarnia Sting game more and more is rather heartening.
And I went to my first Sting game in Sarnia last May, and I had a great time. Even though the Storm lost, it was a great environment. Everybody was friendly, and I'm hoping to come back to some Sting games this year, and maybe even do a couple games as a freelance media reporter as well.
Well, there's always room for you, Chris. There's no doubt about it. There's usually a couple of spots directly below me and Patrick DeRozier. So you give the word, and we'll find a way to get you in.
Okay, and I have a longtime family friends who moved to Sarnia. They used to be Kitchener Ranger fans, and now they're season
Ah,
ticket holders for the Sarnia Sting. Jeff Moore, he's a season ticket holder, and his dad Jim goes to the games as well. And I'm looking forward to coming up there again because I think it's a great environment. It's a nice arena. It's right off the 402, and I had such a great time. And the Sarnia Sting seemed to do a really good job in the community.
well, that's very, very true, and that's very important to the organization. I know firsthand that going to schools and being involved with various charitable organizations in and around the Sarnia area is very, very important to the organization, because those are the people that are supporting you. So it's been a nice reciprocal relationship between a lot of the school age kids and high schools and various charitable organizations. And I know that's only going to continue for the organization.
All right, Leigh, right now in training camp, who are some players, some rookies, and some players on the team so far that have stood out in training camp and might surprise some people in the regular season?
Well, among the veterans, I think Easton Wainwright is in line for a good season. He got shaken up in game one against the London Knights, but is not supposed to be long term. He's got excellent speed. I think he's going to contribute to the power play at a half dozen goals in last year's playoff run. So I certainly think that Easton Wainwright is one of those players that's going to make an offensive contribution. You've got reliable veterans like Zach Felak and Cooper Way and players like that. I think another guy that's going to be very much counted on for offense is Sanisville Menace, who hit 20 goals last year in his first year in the Ontario Hockey League. So, but you never know. There could be a surprise or two that the Sarnia Sting maybe don't anticipate right now in terms of players maybe coming back. I don't see it necessarily, but stranger things have happened. Ty Voigt, who was a finalist last year, to Matthew Maggio of the Windsor Spitfires as most outstanding player. He's got all the requisite skill to play at the next level in the American Hockey League, but he's not real big, as you know. So, is he physically ready for the rigors of a very difficult league in the American Hockey League? Same story for Christian Kyrou, another dynamic defenseman on the back end on the offensive side of the puck. But, are they physically ready to endure what the American Hockey League has to offer? But guys like Ethan Del Mastro and Sasha Passage, they'll be with Rockford in the American League and San Diego in the American League. One would think Luca Del Bel Baluz playing up at the Traverse City tournament right now with Columbus. So, and of course, the three players that absolutely will not be back, and three pivotal guys for the Sarnia Sting in Nolan Burke and defenseman Nolan Dillingham and Ethan Ritchie. All three of them were heart and soul players and a big time fabric for that organization on and off the ice. So a lot of makeover with the Sarnia Sting, and people are asking me quite often, what's it going to look like? What do you think is going to happen? I said, can you ask me this question in about a month's time? Because I think I got a much better forecast of what we might see once the decisions are made at the National Hockey League level.
All right, Lee. The next question I wanted to ask you: overall thoughts on the coaching staff, and did they bring back everybody on the coaching staff this year? And thoughts on the GM and the Stinger ownership overall.
Well, to me, it's a great organization. We'll start with Al Letang, who is a highly decorated head coach
Hmm.
through Hockey Canada, just coming back from the Hlinka Gretzky event in which he coached Team Canada to a gold medal, and a team that consisted of a number of top line Ontario Hockey League players, primarily on the back end. He's a student of the game. He's a good communicator. He's an excellent in-game manager, and he's highly regarded as one of the premier coaches in this league, in my estimation. And I think he is somebody that could very well be on a track to be the head coach of the World Junior entry at some point in time for Canada. And then you get Michael Haley, who never took an easy stride in any game that he played at any level. Heart and soul kind of guy, obviously physical, and but he's one of those raw guys that he has a very good rapport with the players as one of those people coaches and that kind of thing. Not to say he won't, lean on you a little bit if need be. And Brent Sullivan comes in, as mentioned. He's an alumni defenseman for the Sarnia Sting. He's been plying his trade as an owner, coach, and GM up in the Ottawa area over the last little bit. So he comes in with a good pedigree and a good reputation. So I think the coaching staff, and it's going to be very, very important that this coaching staff is as impactful as they are, because it's a young group and a lot of guys that are just trying to find their way and OHL seasoning. And again, Dylan Sika, I think, has done a masterful job as general manager of this hockey club. The deals that he worked en route to that playoff run last year were first rate. He knew what he wanted. He went out and got it. Yes, it cost him a Porter Martone. Yes, it cost him an Angus McDonnell during that process. But at the same time, I think when you got a chance to go for it, you do. Dylan Sika. And the other thing I like about Dylan Sika is it wasn't, boy, do we go in? Do we leave it like this? No, he made the move. He thought he had the team that could go all the way. Frankly, I did as well. I think top to bottom, and you throw David Lagwand in, who obviously has a long pedigree in the game of hockey. And I think they're in good shape, and the stability of the management and coaching team, I think, is at a real good place right now.
And one trade I'd like to talk to you about briefly, being from Guelph, was the Sasha trade for Max. I think it was a great trade for both clubs last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really was. Max Nemestikov, you knew he was going to score at the OHL level, given the opportunity. And I think it was a great fortuitous break for him to go to a hockey club where he had a lot of peers in terms of his age. And again, I really like the Guelph Storm going into this season when you factor in Matthew Poitras and Braden Bowman and Michael Bushinger and players like that. So I think he's in a really good spot. And Sasha Pastujov did everything that was asked and then some. He was great in the community, number one, a very well-spoken young man in the top 5 in league points along with Ty Voigt. So and you hit it right there, Chris. It's one of those deals you love because it helps both parties along the way. And anytime you can strike a deal, in this case, between Dylan Sika and George Burnett, it's always nice to see both sides come out of it in good shape.
Okay. And just 2 quick questions before we wrap this up. Thoughts on your color analyst, Patrick DeRoche's, working with him. And in the OHL West, who do you see some teams that could compete for that number 1, 2, 3, 4 seed in the Western Conference this year?
Patrick DeRoche began broadcasting with me as a colleague. I didn't know him real well. And in the 6-7 years we've worked together, we've become very, very tight friends. He is an excellent broadcaster. I think he describes the game really well. I'm kind of, that going on and on and on and on. And he's sort of the steadying, reliable, calm, cool influence in the broadcast booth. And I think we feed off of each other very, very well. But he's a terrific guy. He's got a great family, and he's become one of my real good friends without a doubt. Switching gears to the Western Conference. Well, I mentioned the Guelph Storm. I mean, you got to look at the London Knights without question. If Zach Bowen is up for the challenge at the goaltending position, you got to love that back end led by Isaiah George and Sam Dickinson. Henry Brustevich comes in from the Ottawa 67s. It is a terrific situation for the London Knights, to say the least, despite the fact they lost Logan Mayhew and a couple of other players up front. that provided some offense between George Diaco and, Ryan Winterton, who's in the Seattle system right now after leading the OHL in playoff points. I think you have to think the Saginaw Spirit are going to be up there as well, because I think the motto with the Spirit, because I still have a lot of friends in Saginaw who I talk to, having been there for 7 seasons. I think that organization would love to go in as OHL champions. I think that's always the goal that you want to achieve. And for a fact that Dave Drinkel is going to be doing a little tinkering. He's got some young players that perhaps would be used to lure in those veterans, because when you get a chance to host a Memorial Cup, you're going to want to do everything you can to make sure you're icing the best product and a chance to bring home a national championship. So those are some of the teams I think that are going to be quite good. I think Owen Sound could be quite good. They've got some talented players, quite obviously. Colby Barlow leading the way there. So, it's always interesting in the Western Conference of the Ontario Hockey League to see exactly what's going to happen and who's going to shine, who the surprises are going to be. And obviously it's going to take a little time to maybe see the dust settle on that somewhat and get a gauge of it. But, I think the Sarnia Sting are going to be very, very competitive. I know on the ice, each and every game, each and every shift, there's going to be the work ethic. And that has been epitomized in the first 2 games that I've seen so far. If they can deliver that kind of an effort each and every night, they're going to be in some hockey games for sure.
How many more preseason games left? Another 3, I believe. 3 preseason games.
Next Wednesday against Windsor, a couple with Windsor, and then one with Flint at home as well. That's going to be a week tomorrow.
Are you going to be?
So
are you going to be
broadcast? And then September 29th, when the Windsor Spitfires are here, it begins for real.
Steve Bell and Manny Pivo will be there as well, and I'm looking forward to that. Hey, Leigh, and before I wrap this up quickly, I had to ask you this because you've done over 1,500 games. Obviously, Sarnia is going to be your favorite arena to broadcast the game, but where are some other rinks across the OHL that you really enjoy broadcasting games from?
The Auditorium in Kitchener has always been one of my favorite rinks, without a doubt. Just the history and the fact it was erected in the early 1950s, and the nostalgia and all the names on the murals on the walls and all that kind of thing. So that would probably have to be my number one visiting rink in the Ontario Hockey League. The drive up to the Soo ain't great, but it's a good location to broadcast from. I've always liked going into Kingston and doing games. Still like going to Old Sudbury Arena too, to be totally honest with you. Don't know how long it's going to be there, but it's got its certain charms. It's a little bit antiquated, as you well know, but those are some of the venues that I like. I like Flint as well. Flint's a nice, cozy little area. You got a great vantage point right at center ice, and usually the games between Flint and Sarnia, going back to the inception of the Firebirds, have been quite competitive. So those are some of the venues that I really like to visit. But it's just a privilege to be able to do games in this league, no matter where it is.
And I'm excited about the Brantford Bulldogs. I remember the Brantford Alexanders.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I asked Larry Malott, I said, have you ever done a game at the Brantford Civic Center? And he said, no. And I'm looking forward to seeing OHL back in Brantford. And I think this time it will succeed in that city.
Well, I think the appetite is there. There's no question about it. I have yet to be in that building in Brantford, so I'm looking forward to it. And you got to go back to late 70s, early 80s, go back to those Alexanders days. So
yes, I remember.
It'll be quite good, I think. Mark Hunter played there, and Alan Bester, and some good NHLers came out of that program. Yeah, Bob Probert, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of Mark Hunter, certainly my condolences on the passing of their dad, Dick. A couple of days ago. I had a lot of interaction with Dick over the years, and I know Dale and Mark quite well, so certainly condolences on the passing of their father.
Absolutely. And we're going to wrap this up. Leigh, where can fans follow you on social media? I know you're on Twitter, and best place to follow the Sting on their official website or to get tickets.
Yeah, just sarniasting.com is your key to things, all things Sting. And for myself, just that Twitter handle, that's about all I do. I'm not super active on social media, and maybe that's a little bit of a mistake. Maybe I got to get a little more active in that. But yeah, that Twitter handle, if you want to reach me or anything like that. And every now and again, I'll pose a thought or two, but a lot of times it's mostly relaying information about games and players and all that kind of thing connected to the Sting.
And when's your next broadcast with Patrick on CHOK 103.9 FM? Are they on both the AM and the FM signals when you do the games?
Yes. 1070 is the AM side, 103.9, as you mentioned, the FM side. And we'll get it rolling with the season opener coming up at the Progressive Auto Sales Arena, that being on September 29th, and then off to Saginaw for the first road game the next day.
All right. Well, Leigh, I'm going to let you go, but I want to say, Leigh, thank you so much for coming on here today. And I'll definitely let you know when I can come up to Sarnia, because I would like to come up to a couple games this season at that arena and cover the Sting too.
You got it. Anytime, Chris. Happy to do it. Good luck with future broadcasts. And yeah, if you get a chance to come up to Sarnia, by all means, come on up to the booth and say hello.
Okay. Thank you so much, Leigh, and have a great night. And best of luck to you and Patrick and the 23-24 Sarnia Sting.
Much appreciated. Take care.
You too. That was Leigh Cunningham, the radio play-by-play voice of the Ontario Hockey League's Sarnia Sting on CHOK 103.9 FM in Sarnia, and also on 1070 AM in Sarnia as well. And the Sarnia Sting are celebrating their 30th year in the city of Sarnia, moving from Newmarket in 1994. This franchise originally started out as the Cornwall Royals. So you guys can check out sarniasting.com if you want to get tickets. And I highly recommend going up to the Progressive Auto Insurance Arena in Sarnia. It's a beautiful arena, similar to the Sleeman Center, a little smaller, I believe, but it's right off the 402 and easy to get to. There is parking. It's right by the Lambton College as well. But let's check out Leigh and Patrick DeRochers on CHOK 103.9 FM and 1070 AM in Sarnia. And the Sarnia Sting will be playing a game at the Road Arena on September 20th against the Windsor Spitfires as well. So, guys, just wanted to let you know my next live with CDP Sports Talk, Season 6, Episode 42, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, will be on Monday, September 18th. Monday, September 18th at 1 p.m. with my special guest, Dr. Sierra Scott. She is a licensed psychologist from Nashville, Tennessee. So I hope you guys can tune into that show with Dr. Sierra Scott, a licensed psychologist from Nashville, Tennessee. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I'm just going to show you a little bit of clip from the Ontario Hockey League's YouTube channel. And it talks a little bit about this 23-24 Sarnia Sting and their up-and-coming draft picks.
Sting are pleased to select from the York Simcoe Express, Ryan Brown.
Yeah, Ryan's, a real good kid from a great family. His brothers played in the league. He's a competitive player. Obviously a key piece to the York Simcoe team. That was, probably one of the better teams in the province this past year. And he's got the tangibles that we look for. He can skate. He plays hard on a puck. He's got skill in tight. And, like I say, and it comes from a really good family, which is just as important for us. So, you're right. We're picking late, and he's a player that we were really excited was there at that point. Yeah, I think it's his quickness off the rush that we were probably drawn to the most. So, as a good skater, but he's not afraid to take pucks to the net and kind of transitional offensive games, so to speak. We hope that translates, obviously, into our league too.
The Sarnia Sting are pleased to select from the Burlington Eagles, James Barr.
Yeah, James was a player that really improved throughout the season. Early on, you could see some pieces and tools that we really liked. But just as every time we saw him, he was better and better. I think at the end of the season, he pulled his team into the OHL Cup, which is obviously a testament to not just him, but he's a big piece of their club. A right-handed D, good mobility, plays with confidence, likes to have the puck on his stick, a real competitive, driven kid. We think that's going to push him, hopefully, for the next few years. He's, like I say, he's driven, real good in the classroom, just, another really good family kid. And we were excited he was still there. Didn't think that would be the case, but the drafts are the drafts. So, yeah, James Barr, good player.
The Sarnia Sting are pleased to select from Weeks Majors in Nova Scotia, Lane Sim.
Obviously, his dad, was an alumni and a Hall of Famer for our organization. So we were drawn to him early, just basically on that. And then I flew out to watch the Canada games, and his club wasn't necessarily the strongest, but you could see the competitiveness, the puck skill. Not the biggest player, but someone that wears his heart on his sleeve. And then it was more than just the fact that we knew the family. It became, we were really intrigued by the player. Being our proximity to the United States, we obviously put a lot of emphasis into the American players. If one, we like their game, too, that they want to play in our league, and that's part of the effort that went into Houston Herd. One played on a real strong team, arguably one of their strongest defenders, real hard-nosed, tough kid, moves well. Once we got to know him and his family, we were pretty quick to really fall in love with who they are and what they stand for. And we had him into some games, and we were fortunate to get him some of our playoff games where the energy was pretty high in our. I think it didn't take long for him to really see himself playing in our colors. So, you never know how the draft will play itself out, but we weren't going to let him go too far based on some of the conversations that we had, and it was exciting to get him locked up. Yeah, he's such an athletic player. And I mean, parts of his game throughout the season, you really could see some of the strengths, and at times, would skate himself into a little bit of trouble. But just the athletic ability, the quality of the kid, the upside was just so high for us. Pretty surprised he's still there. We've had some really good conversations with him. We'll continue to do that. But he's a local player for us too, and yeah, just a ton of tools. We call him a toolsy defender, right? Just skates so well, handles the puck well, really confident, gets up in the rush, and we're excited to get to work with him. Yeah, a great combination of skill, competes. They all can skate. We took some other D that are some righties that are later in the draft that we really like their upside, and Timmins and McNally as well. And for us, honestly, we're excited to let the guys kind of percolate. And we don't rush. The guys get an opportunity in Sarnia, but we're not rushing with high expectations. Just, percolate, be ready, work hard, and but we are equally pretty excited about this 07 draft group, I'll be honest.
That clip was courtesy of the Ontario Hockey League's YouTube channel. Again, that's a preview of the 23-24 Sarnia Sting. Thanks to Leigh Cunningham, the radio play-by-play voice for coming on, and that was Dylan Sika, the general manager of the Sarnia Stings, talking about their 23 OHL draft picks. And I think Sarnia might surprise some people this year as well in the Ontario Hockey League. And the Sting today, again, general manager Dylan Sika announced today that the hockey club acquired forward Dylan Moses from the Sioux Greyhounds in exchange for a conditional 12th round pick in the 25 OHL priority selection. Moses is 6'1", 180-pound forward. He's going to add some size and speed to the Sarnia Sting as well. Also, guys, finally to wrap up the Sting, you can catch Dylan Moses and his new teammates, the rest of the Sarnia Sting, in action as they host the Windsor Spitfires on Wednesday, September 20th at the old Sarnia Arena, now named the Pat Stapleton Arena, to celebrate their 30th year again as the Sarnia Sting and playing in the city of Sarnia. So tickets for this event in Sarnia are general admission with seat selection to be first come, first serve. And the tickets, again, for this special game at the old barn can be purchased online at tickets at sarniasting.com or at the box office during regular hours as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, right now here in Guelph, gear up for the fall season at Barry Cullen Chevrolet with a 2023 Silverado 1500 Custom Crew Cab. You can lease for $297 biweekly at 6.9% financing for 24 months with $3,250 down payment on an ultra low kilometer lease. Eligible Costco members can receive a $750 bonus as well. So again, check out barrycullen.com for that information, or pop by the dealership again at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. All right, guys, we're going to finish up our show in a couple of minutes. And as always, Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, the key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. The radio station's website is wqeefm.radio1235.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X now, Twitch, LinkedIn, and I want to say thank you to everyone for watching today's episode live streamed as well. I'm also on a website. It's similar to Linktree. It's called beacons.ai/Chris Palme. That's beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my social media sites are there, and all my previous podcast shows and radio shows, video and audio, are on there as well. Also, you can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. That's at Live with CDP on TikTok. I joined there 2.5 years ago, and now I'm up to 1,572 followers. And I want to say thank you. I really enjoy TikTok. I post all my coach. Sorry, I'm going to talk again. By the way, I post all my player interviews, coaches interviews, and different interviews I do around the city of Guelph in Ontario as well, and for my media coverage as well. So I hope you guys can check me out on TikTok at Live with CDP and hit that follow notification as well. And also, guys, check out Chris Palme Live with CDP Sports Talk on my YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe notification if you already haven't, and thank you if you have, and hit the likes. And I want to say thank you to my 223 subscribers, and I really appreciate people subscribing to my YouTube channel and also following me on social media. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast radio show. The audio version is downloaded to iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In, and weeknights at 8 again on WQEE 99.1 FM. Also, you can email me or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188 with comments, questions, and suggestions. And I love to hear feedback, because the only way you get better in media or any industry is from feedback. And I want to continue to improve on here as well. You guys can also follow me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter at Chris D. Palme, Instagram, and also, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I'm looking forward to my next guest on Monday, September 18th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central Time. And my guest's name is Dr. Sierra Scott. She's a licensed psychologist out of Nashville, Tennessee. And we're going to talk about mental health, wellness, and her career as well. And she started her own company up as well. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And the next Argo Bounce Live audio show, episode 10, will be next week, to be announced. with my co-host Nick Small and myself as we talk about the 18-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts and their upcoming game against the Montreal Alouettes, which is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on TSN or TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant as well. And also, guys, before we wrap it up, Thursday night football, we've got the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins 0-1 coming into Lincoln Financial Field to take on the defending NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles, who are 1-0 after coming off their hard-fought, ugly win against the New England Patriots on Sunday, 25-20. Kenneth Gainwell is out of this game with rib injuries, and DeAndre Swift, the former Detroit Lion running back, will be starting tonight. But I expect the Eagles to play better on both sides of the ball tonight against the Minnesota Viking team. I've got the Eagles winning this game 28-24. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think the score will be in the 20s for both teams as well. So 8:15 on Amazon Prime and also on TSN here in Canada, or you can listen to the game on WIP in Philadelphia with Merle Reese and Mike Quick. And before we wrap this show up again, I want to say thank you to Leigh Cunningham, the voice of the Sarnia Sting of the Ontario Hockey League, for coming on here. And I'm looking forward to the OHL season starting up in a few weeks. And I'm hoping to get down to Sarnia as well. And as for the Eagles-Vikings game, really looking forward to it. And got to say this, go Birds, fly Eagles, fly. And I hope everybody enjoys the game tonight. And I hope everybody has a great weekend with watching the NFL, the CFL, college football in Canada, in the States, and, of course, Monday Night Football. But live with CDP Sports Talk, we'll be back this Monday, September 18th, 1 p.m., again with Dr. Sierra Scott, a licensed psychologist from Nashville, Tennessee. I hope everybody has a great evening and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football games. And again, thank you to everybody for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph and on WQEE 99.1 FM. Good night, everybody. Go Birds.